What is up, fam? Agent O here with another action figure review, and Christmas came a little early for me this year. Me and Strident did a gift exchange earlier this month, and I'm sure he'll have the stuff that I got him up on YouTube before I get my stuff up. And this was what he got me, the Figma Guyver figure. Not the original Max Factory one, but the newer one that Figma did. And this was definitely on my get list once I found out Figma was going to reissue this figure. And I just never got around to getting that, and Strident knew. And so he came through. You know, my brother from another mother came through. So I'm going to definitely take this out of the box and get to reviewing it. And I'm just going to take a little bit to get everything set up, and I will be back. Alright, and I am back with the Guyver. Just to give you guys a little background as to why I've always wanted this figure. This was one of the first animes that I had seen, or one of the first Japanese animated, like, anything that I had seen, and I immediately fell in love with the idea of you know, of an armored suit that was bioorganic in nature. And you know, as you can tell from the design, it has a lot of nice curvature going on. It's once again very organic looking, and I loved it immediately. It was one of the earlier animes that I fell in love with, and I loved the design of the Guyver. It just was like nothing I had seen before at that time, and so that was one of the reasons why I love this figure. And I just had to have it in my collection. It was like when I knew Figma was doing this figure, I was like, yo, this is in my get collection, because I gotta get this, because I do have the Max Factory, the original Max Factory Guyver figures, but those are actually, like, I treat those as actual collectibles, so I'm not taking those out of the package. I have Guyver 1 still sealed in the plastic wrap, aside from the, you know, the actual plastic box he comes in. I'm not ever taking that out, because at the time I bought it, it was like $150. It was like a variant version, because it came with an extra hand and an extra head, and with Sho Fukumachi, the main character's face, partially seen through the Guyver mask. And I decided then, I was like, yo, I'm gonna hold on to these as collectibles, and not mess with it. And so those are like the only figures I have in my collection. Those are like some of the few figures I have in my collection that I don't take out of the box and actually play around with. But just to start off with this Figma figure, you know, aesthetically, this is about as show accurate as you can get. I mean, I love the sculpt on the head. I love the use of the translucent plastic for the eyes, which I think on the production photos when they first advertised this figure, it was just paint. I think the eyes were just painted. So the fact that they went with a translucent plastic actually makes me really happy, because I think that looks a lot better than just painted eyes. I mean, you can see the control metal in the middle of the head, which is friggin' awesome. The sentry nodes, the silver sentry nodes on the top of the head. I mean, every little detail. Even these red dots, which I don't even know what they did. I don't think they did anything, but they were just there for, you know, design purposes. And then the green globe in the middle of his head, that little green spot, which shot out a high-powered laser, like a high-powered mini laser. Just all kinds of cool shit. The vents, the venting, you know, on the sides where, you know, you'd see it press in, you see him breathe out air, and then you have the psionic disruptor metals right there in the middle by the mouthpiece. Just really good attention to detail. I mean, everything about this just screams show accurate. Like, I've looked over this design like a million times, because like I said, I was just so intrigued with it back in the day that you know, I can just look at it and I can tell pretty much this is about as show accurate as you can get. Even the styling, the artistic licensing that the artist took by kind of making the torso a little bit shorter and then making the legs like extra long, that's like something that you always saw in the artwork, and even in the 12 episode OAV that came out in, like, I want to say the 90s maybe, I don't know, that's when I saw it anyway. It's all there, man. The stylization and whatnot, just they captured it, you know, hands down. You know, Figma did a bang up job on this. You know, I like Figma. They're not my go-to. My go-to has always been SH Figure Arts, but they represented with this figure as far as the aesthetics go. Now I'm going to get into the articulation, which is also really good, because, you know, Figmas also have good articulation. The head goes down about that far, which is really good. I mean, you can't go down any farther, and the head goes up about that high. The molding on the back and that collar piece prevents it from going any further, but, you know, it's on a ball joint and it can go 360 degrees around. Be careful of this fin. Even though it does bend a bit, I would still be careful, because it's sharp and you can't poke yourself, and plus, you know, these are collectibles. These aren't, you know, take out the package and play toys. So, you know, I'd be mindful of it. These I don't know what they were called in the show, but they're these throat thing. They're actually connected to his head, you know, from the base of the neck where the head connects down to the clavicle area. And I never knew what they were called. I don't think they had any purpose, but I like how when you move the head around, they actually do move a bit. I think they're like actually attached to the neck. So the fact that they're a little stretchy and they do bend and squash and stretch a little bit is actually pretty cool. Now moving on to the shoulders. The shoulders are made of a decently hard plastic, but they're actually connected by a ring. They're not on a swivel joint or anything. My camera will focus. There we go. It's actually on a ring, as you can see. So it can rotate around. You can rotate his arm all the way around, and there's no obstruction by the shoulder pad. His arm swivels up. As you can see, it's on a ball joint. Swivels up to about that high, so not too bad, not too shabby. He does have a bicep swivel, which I'm really happy that it does, because one thing about some Figmas that I do have, they don't have a bicep swivel, and, you know, they let the elbow joint serve as the bicep swivel, and I never liked that. It always looks like somebody broke his arm when the bicep doesn't rotate with the rest of the arm. So it's there. He does have double jointed elbows, but, you know, due to the mold, that's about as high as you're going to get, which is, I'd say it's more than 90 degrees, which is just fine by me. He does have wrist articulation. Wrist turns 360 degrees, and it does bend in and out. So you're good on that front too. You know, no problems there. The torso is on a diaphragm joint, and, you know, goes down. He can bend over that far, and he can tilt back that far, so that's really good, pretty good range of motion. He also tilts from side to side, as you can see, and the hips are on a swivel, so he does, you can turn it all the way around 360 degrees. I'm not going to do it, but you can also tilt at the hip too, so you can get some decent, you know, he can do the little zigzag tilty thing if you needed to, you know, for like subtle poses and whatnot and whatnot. I would say this is about, like, so far this is about as good as an SH Figure Art, as most SH Figure Arts go. As far as for the leg articulation, he does have ball jointed hips, and luckily the plastic that's on his legs up here, the armor, it's on a very malleable plastic, so just bends out of the way, and which is also really nice. And I mean, you've got a full split there. He's got a thigh swivel, which is always good, and you got good range of motion. The fact that this guy isn't, is more organic armored and not geometrically, not with a whole lot of geometric pieces, helps that, you know, with the extra range of motion, because there's not anything getting in the way. His knees are double jointed, and you get way more than a 90-degree bend on that knee, which is awesome. Whoops. I was going to get to that in a little bit. That's a little feature I'm going to touch on later. But going to the feet, he's got, due to the sculpt, you can't really rotate his ankles that far because the sculpt gets in the way. But it's still a decent tilt on the ankle. Not so much going the other way, but you can bend his feet forward. They bend about that far, once again, due to the heel getting into the back of the leg armor. Can't go that far forward and can't go that far back, but he does also have a toe point for those that like it. I like it. I don't always use it, but when I do, I am happy that it's there, especially since he's got the whole like two-toed foot thingy going on there. But overall, articulation is really good. I have absolutely no problems whatsoever with the articulation. Now moving on to some of the main features of this guy, which is kind of like the accessories. You have his high frequency vibrating sword, which this is in its like rest stage. And then I'm gonna reach and grab. Should have got it out ahead of time, but I was just so eager to review this guy, I just jumped right on in. Oh, there it is. And this is it when it's fully extended and it's actually in its like high frequency vibration mode. It just pegs out like so, and then you just peg the full-on piece out, and I love just how much more extended it gets. It looks just like in the anime. Then I'm gonna take that out for now, just because I don't want it getting in the way. And then you have the Mega Smasher, which is in his chest, and you just the ball joints just swivel open. Oops, and it pops out. It pops out because there's another chest piece that comes with it, but for now I just want to focus on this. But you know, you can see the detailing on the inside of the chest because it's all organic, and I love the fact that they once again used translucent plastic on the actual Mega Smasher piece. I noticed in the production photos it just looked like they used like a kind of like a gold metallic paint, and I wasn't really feeling that, because if you ever watch the anime, you can tell it looks like kind of like a translucent eyeball. Like you see the eye, like the lens of the eye, and it's translucent but reflective. And then on the inside, you also see another like organic orb, like the actual focusing lens of the laser. You can see it on the inside in the anime. And I like the fact that they tried to reproduce that by using the translucent plastic on the chest. Once again, really good touch, nice attention to detail. Got no problems with that, and you just close it right back up, and then the chest piece, as you saw earlier, it comes out, and you can replace it with a chest piece that doesn't open. But I'll just put this guy down. I'll show you the difference. You can see it's curved on the sides, so that unlike the main chest piece, which isn't, it's so that you can bring his arms closer together. You can, like right there, the bicep can kind of fit in that arm space, in that extra space, so the hands come closer together, so you can do like, you know, fireball motions and stuff, because he has this little orb right here is like the gravity globe. It controls gravity. It allows him to actually fly in the air and do all kinds of like extra acrobatic activities, and he can also focus that gravity into a force ball and then fire that ball like a Hadouken at his enemies. So this is what that chest piece is for getting that type of pose, or poses similar to that down. You know, just being able to, you know, completely cross his arms, more so than he would with the other chest piece. This isn't the first time Figma has done this. They've done it before, but you know, my only gripe is that this thing doesn't stay on too well. It pegs in down here where the tubes feed in from the back into the chest, and then there's also slots right up in here that it also slides into, and it just doesn't, it stays as long as you don't move his torso around too much. It actually isn't too bad once you get it fitted in like it should. And make sure it's on the other side. It actually stays pretty good. But when you start moving his upper torso diaphragm joint piece around, it kind of comes loose and pops out. Kind of wish they would have figured out a better way to keep that in there, but you know, that's like my only really major gripe with this, is that the chest piece doesn't fit in like it should. But other than that, I have like no real problems with this figure. You know, he comes with your standard, I'm gonna move him out of the way. Comes with your interchangeable hands. And of course, he always comes with the Figma poly bag, which I love, to store all your extra little bits and pieces. He comes with a stand. He comes with assorted hands. He has your open hands, your relaxed hands, your like gripping hands for holding things. He has like judo chop hands, and he also has the Hadoken hands, the hands for like holding the orb that he doesn't come with. It kind of would have been cool if he came with that orb piece, but he doesn't. He also comes with the Unit 1 in stasis mode. This is what the Guyver armor looks like when it's not on a host. For those of you who might not have ever seen Guyver, and he comes with this replica. I think the Max Factory figures came with this. All the Guyver units came with something that looked exactly like this, and this looks pretty show accurate. You've got the control metal in the middle and all the musculature tendrils on the inside, and then the armor kind of enclosing it all. And this is a nice little cool thing to have. It kind of would make more sense if you had an actual like Sho Fukumachi figure, which is the main character from Guyver. If you had this, then if you had that figure and then you had this to go with it, then it would make more sense, because kind of doesn't make sense to have Guyver and the Unit 1 when they're one and the same. But I did bring the Max Factory Guyver just to give you an idea of the height difference. I'm not going to take it out of the package, but you can see the height wise. You know, he's like a full head and shoulders taller than you know, the Max Factory. The Max Factory figure is like a full head and shoulders taller than the Figma. And I mean, this is fine. Like I said, I'm holding on to this as a collector's item piece, so I never planned on playing with it. So the fact that Figma did this, or got the licensing or whatever, was able to reproduce this guy again, actually makes me really happy. Overall, like I said, only problem I have with this figure is the chest piece not staying in like I would like. Like, see, you just move it a little bit and it pops out. It's unfortunate, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So, you know, I think if you can get past that and you're a fan of Guyver, I definitely would recommend this figure. It's You know, that's the only thing I had problems with. Everything else I thought was just fantastically done, and I had absolutely no real issues with. Yeah, man, add this to your collection if you like Guyver, or you know, if you just like really cool sci-fi action figures. This guy will definitely look good in your anime collection. So that's pretty much gonna do it. I've got nothing else to add to this review. I'm Agent O and I'm out. Peace.